Alright, I'm down in my Port Lazaret in my sailboat, my Pearson 424 Ketch. You know, this is something I'm not sure I was prepared to share on YouTube. It was something that's like kind of a self-inflicted problem, but you know, this is all about transparency and learning, so I decided to share it. Well, 4 years ago, I had a friend help me install a new tank infill for the Pearson. I had an old tank infill and it was too narrow for the high capacity gas pumps, the diesel pumps that now exist at marinas, right? You want to put your nozzle in there and you want it to fit inside the neck of the infill, and my infill was too narrow. It was an old-timey infill. So we replaced that, and in doing so we also replaced the hose. And ever since that point, I've had a hard time getting diesel throughput to go through this hose. And I've always kind of lived with it, but thought, oh, that's not great. And I recently took the ABYC standard exam and learned that my gas throughput capacity was not up to standard. It's below standard. It should be at least 5 gallons per minute. And I think I'm doing like 1 gallon per minute. It's horribly slow. And so I decided to come back in here after taking that exam to ask myself, what the heck is going on in here? And when I look at the hose, I'm going to show you now, I think I realized what the problem is. Let me show you. Okay, that's where the hose comes in, up there. And the hose comes down here. And I don't know if you can tell or not, but it then goes back up to the tank infill, which is located right here. So we go down and up. There's a sag in the hose, basically. You can just imagine that the liquid coming through that hose, the diesel, is getting stopped up below the level of the tank. It's just kind of like lagging there and then backfilling. And that's not great. I got to think that's what's happening. I can potentially use this spine here in the hull. If I need to put a bracket somewhere, that's probably on that spine is where I do it. And another possibility is there is a block of wood right up there that I could potentially hang a strap off of to also provide support. So those are multiple options to do something with this hose. I could leave it the same length and use supports, or I could cut it. The gotcha with cutting it shorter is that, I can't get it too short. Obviously, if I cut it too short, then I got a big problem. I got to replace the whole hose length. I've got to get it back onto the barb. And the most difficult thing about boat projects generally is what should be very simple. And I think the most difficult part of this is going to be taking the hose off of the barb. So there's 2 worm clamps up there that hold it to the barb. The infill mount at the deck has a barb that the hose fits over, and then 2 worm clamps go over the top of that and fix it to it. So you can see the two worm clamps up there, right up at the top of the neck, next to those 2 wires, which are basically grounding wires. They're for the bonding circuit. Okay, I loosened these worm clamps down here, and I gotta tell you, trying to move that hose around and trying to move it off of the barb, extremely difficult. I'm not sure I want to do it. I'm not sure if it's gonna be worth the time and effort, as opposed to trying plan B, which is this. We're gonna take this clamp here and we're gonna put it on the hose. And we're going to move the hose so that it's supported along this spine right here. Here's the back side. Those are 2-inch number 12, 12 by 24, I think, screws, machine screws. And you can see on the other side the clamp that is on the hose, and you can see where they're mounted over here. So that is, I'm going to tighten it up a little bit, but that is what this basically looks like. And that has removed some, but not all of the sag. It's still riding a little low. So this is only half the solution to the problem. I'm going to have to somehow provide a little extra support underneath, and I think I'm going to use a strap to do that, like webbing. I'm going to put some webbing underneath this that's going to elevate this, and I think it will attach up on this wood block right up here. So that's going to be second part of this project, is putting that in. Well, I gotta tell you, I think that worked. That was pretty easy to implement, and man, I think it's doing the job. Here, let me show you what it looks like. So there is the wood block, which I put a little bracket in, and then I just put this strap in place, this webbing. The only thing I'm thinking about is whether or not I need to put either chafe guard or further secure where this webbing lays. But I gotta tell you, right off the cuff, if you look at this hose and how it goes on that bracket, and then up to the top, up down to the bracket, through the strap right here, and then down, and then down. There's no more sagging. There's no part of this hose now that's below the level of that intake valve, or the intake of the tank, which is phenomenal. Oh my gosh, I am very excited about how this is looking. So we'll see if that holds up, but I'm going to go into the season pretty much like this. Again, I'll think about whether or not I need to put chafe guard on this hose somehow, but I don't think that webbing is going to chafe too much. I don't think there's going to be a lot of movement down here. But nonetheless, I could take some old like fire hose and insulate that with a little chafe guard. But man, living, this is, boy howdy. I'm looking forward to the first time I put fuel in the tank this season, because that might flow a lot better than it did last year. I'm excited. I do want to thank my subscribers. I really appreciate your support. Thanks for hanging in there with me. If you stayed through the end of the video, please consider hitting that like button. It really helps the channel grow. This is Sailor Eric. Thanks for watching.